Where would you like to begin,
Well, we have three
Brad?
items to, informational items to cover, and that I wanted to make the executive committee aware of. And the first two, trolley purchase and BRT branding, are on the October agenda, so they'll cover most of what's going to be on the board meetings agenda this month. So, referring to the trolley purchase, I have included a separate handout at your places that is sort of an outline to a beautiful presentation that Debbie Leas, our great CFO, and Henry Lukasik, our maintenance director, are going to be presenting to the finance committee first, a week from Friday, next Friday, before the board meeting, to hopefully get a recommendation on purchase of replacement buses for PSTA's oldest buses in our fleet, which are our trolley buses. As I presented last month, at the top is sort of a recap. The PSTA runs a bunch of trolleys. Or PSTA funds a bunch of trolleys. We run them in different ways. We run some of them ourselves with our trolleys. We contract with the Jolly Trolley up in Clearwater, and we contract with the Looper down in St. Petersburg. And so there's been some, well, as I mentioned, two PSTA board members on the finance committee asked, are focused on two different issues. Commissioner Eggers asked the question, well, wouldn't it be better, or what would be the impacts if PSTA got out of the trolley bus business ourselves and instead had the Jolly Trolley run all of the trolleys? I had a really good one-on-one with him. I don't think he was totally aware of the breadth of all the different trolleys that run all over the county, in different parts of the county. Or, you know, exactly that the trolleys are all basically for tourists, but they do have different characteristics. The PSTA trolleys run a lot more miles because the Gulf Boulevard is so long compared to just on Clearwater Beach, and Central Avenue is longer than just in downtown St. Petersburg. So that we have to purchase different kinds of trolleys. So I think I don't know, Debbie was with the meeting. That seemed to go really well with Commissioner Eggers. We're gonna talk. He was very happy we're having a discussion about the capital costs of the vehicles, the operating costs of the vehicles, the issues about, and I think Commissioner Long, you know about a board member with the Jolly Trolley sent an email, kind of a proposal, that they would buy the trolleys. They would buy the trolleys instead of PSTA buying the trolleys, and then they would bill us for the trolleys through their operating contract. They would lease purchase trolleys to run on our services instead of us purchasing the trolleys, and then they would bill us the lease purchase price through their contract. Well, I mean, that's possible, but that's maybe not in the best financial sense, because we can't spend the federal capital dollars on such a thing if it's coming through our operating budget, and then B, we're not really able to do a lease purchase because the federal government doesn't let you do that unless you can somehow convince them that leasing is cheaper than buying. So there's a couple issues on that. So just to summarize there, I have a meeting, James Bradford, who manages that contract, and I are meeting with the Jolly Trolley chair of the board, Bob Clifford, and Rosemary, what's her name? I can't remember her new name.
Oh.
What? Windsor, yeah, Rosemary Windsor, on tomorrow night. So, if you see at the bottom, there's some suggested next steps. Two issues, one that Commissioner Eggers came up with, which I kind of agree with, which is number 3 there. Consider longer-term contracts with our parties, rather than having a relatively short-term 3-year or 5-year contract, so that they can rely on the relationship, which is good. That with the Looper, with Care Ride, with Jolly Trolley, that we're operating contracts, look at longer-term relationships, like a 10-year contract. And that
What is the relationship, what is the length of the relationship now?
It's a 5-year contract, but it's actually a 3-year contract with 2 option years, which are not as guaranteed. They're pretty guaranteed, but they can't be as guaranteed. And 10 years would be would allow them to, invest in trolleys, have a longer term outlook on their finances, etc.
Well, I clearly understand why they would like that as a government entity. I'm not sure how wise that is from a, strategic perspective, because a lot of things can change in a government agency, number one. Number two, technologies are improving so quickly that if you're locked in a 10-year contract, I don't know how that gives you the ability to be nimble in case you need to take corrective action or do something really significantly different than we're doing now.
That's true.
And I think that those thoughts would be wise for us to think about, just because, 10 years is a long time, and we can't, as a government agency, lock in future boards to a contract that's that long. I don't know
I
any
concur
other
with that.
government agency that has a contract with a private entity for 10 years. I don't know, I would like to know what Alan Zimmett thinks about that.
Yeah, well, he and I talked about it yesterday.
What did he say?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, and just the history is the PSTA has been under, shorter term contracts with the Jolly Trolley and with the Looper for 20, 30 years, the last 30 years. So.
We have had a relationship for that long?
Yeah.
Well, then why are they worried about extending a contract for, how do you even price it for 10 years
Yeah.
out?
It's longer than our funding runs, we don't know where things will be in 10 years. It's hard for us to be in that situation. I concur that that's.
All right, well, again, the agreements would not be, there's not guaranteed money in any of these agreements. They run what we fund, what we schedule and plan for our services. If, you're right, if technology changes, if, I don't know, if there's some kind of new technology or there's no need for trolleys on the routes that they're around, we would be able to change, and they would do whatever,
I was not at that meeting. Can I circle back and ask what brought up this particular issue, that they wanted to make these changes?
Well, I can't remember if you were at the finance committee.
No, I was not. That was the one I was absent.
Oh, okay.
And Josh Schulman ran the meeting.
Okay.
So that's why this, I think this all happened. I probably blew it by not being there. but-
Commissioner Eggers, I think, had some discussions with some of the folks, some of the board members of Jolly Trolley. I I think is really how it got started. And then there was some discussions of whether or not, Commissioner Eggers, I think just based on that, and not really having a full understanding of the breadth of all the different services, thought, well, hey, we should explore whether it would be more efficient or effective to have the Jolly Trolley run trolley buses in Pinellas County, and PSTA run regular kind of buses.
But isn't, okay, so I hear that argument, and it makes me put my T-Barta hat on. Because as we move forward, isn't the idea for our public transportation options to fall under the umbrella in some manner, shape, or form of T-Barta? And now we're extending, you know, I mean, I could envision a day when even our ferry service is under T-Barta.
You do.
I just think there's so much in flux right now with where we're going and what the opportunities are, that I really hate to see us get locked in a 10-year plan for anything. How does that affect our finances, Debbie?
Well, every contract usually has something in there for a 30-day exit. For instance, the Looper contract, which has been in place since 2013, is an automatic annual renewal with a 30-day exit clause. So we would have to have something in there for that, or have it be contingent upon appropriation of funds in the budget.
Yeah, like, I guess it's hard to think about when you have nothing in writing, so I'd be very curious about what the contract would look like.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, nothing has been set in stone yet, but it was just a suggestion, you know, I think initially by the Jolly Trolley, but it's sort of in recognition that they are a long-term partner, as we're gonna outline in the presentation. Both Jolly Trolley and the Looper are kind of interesting. They're not private companies. They're non-profit entities.
Are?
Yes. The Jolly Trolley, back in the 1960s, was a private venture, but it started losing money. It didn't have any government funding in it. And then it started losing money, and so it started off, PSTA and the city of Clearwater started giving this company grants to keep afloat, to keep running on the beach. And then over the years, it has basically become a nonprofit organization with a board, and but it still receives, it receives all of its funding from PSTA. Their facility is owned by the city of Clearwater. Clearwater gives them an operating facility that they're renegotiating a deal right now to try to expand and get a bigger one, and negotiating with the city of Clearwater to keep that free to them. Same thing down in St. Pete. The Looper Inc. It maintains its trolleys in the city garage. The city buys its trolleys for it. So these are not truly private entities, but and we've just had this relationship. They're very, as you might recall, back in 2017 when we did a procurement for the Jolly Trolley against a national company, and the room downstairs filled up with everybody from Clearwater. They're very embedded in their communities, and they've been good partners to us.
So they really have a public-private partnership with us, correct?
Correct, yeah. So just sort of in the spirit of recognizing that solid partnership that we've had for many years, maybe a longer-term arrangement with appropriate exit clauses and ability to be nimble into the future, locked in with that, might be something we want to explore.
Well, I'm happy to, in the spirit of compromise, move along with that number 3 there, as long as they give up all the other nonsense.
Yeah. Number 2 on there, Commissioner Barkley, you might be a little bit familiar with because it's your hometown.
Yep.
That's probably the number 1 request for expansion that we've heard over the years is, could the Jolly Trolley be expanded? I don't know how many miles that is, it's not that far.
Just over it's farther south, that would go on off of
From
San Key on
Key.
down into Bel Air Beach and then make a
Come
left.
over the bridge.
Come over the bridge,
Yeah,
Well, what's in Bel Air Bluffs that they want the Jolly Trolley there?
They feel that
Those
there would
restaurants
be,
there.
they feel that there would be adequate
Ridership.
usage, ridership. But there was one before, I don't know how many years ago, it was long before my time, but there was a bus or a Jolly Trolley that did that, but it was never really very successful. I mean, but most people in Bel Air Bluffs have cars, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's.
It's a pretty affluent area.
I don't think there's.
Is Bel Air Bluffs,
Well, they feel that would help with bringing tourists to the restaurants and stores
yeah,
and things like
for
that.
that it probably would. So my
Mhm.
question is, would Bel Air Bluffs like to be part of the partnership and kick in a few
Geez, yeah, I
dollars?
wonder where that came from.
maybe.
I mean, come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
it's not free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the idea here would be that, and I'll talk to the Jolly Trolley about it on tomorrow, but that we would work together, maybe get an FDOT grant to try it out. Maybe we would just go on the weekends or something to
A
start.
pilot project.
Yeah, like a pilot. See if it could work. Now, the other issue was an issue brought up by Commissioner Josh Schulman. Initially at the Finance Committee, and then at the board meeting, and then in my one-on-one, and then yesterday at the St. Pete Chamber. He's just concerned about buying 20 trolleys over the next 2 years when we're launching the Central Avenue BRT project in a similar corridor to the Central Avenue trolley. And his suggestion is that once the BRT is up and running, PSTA maybe should eliminate the trolley, Central Avenue trolley, or at least curtail it significantly so it doesn't run all the way down Central Avenue.
But people like the
Yeah.
trolley.
Besides that.
People love it, it's
and
our
the
number 1 route.
And so-
And
and-
BRT is not gonna stop at every corner either, so that's a second road.
Commissioner Schulman, as you well know, he likes to suggest things and
Yeah.
have questions and comments. We've talked about it at length.
But I mean, the people on the beach that are taking transportation to go downtown, I mean, when do they ever get to ride on a trolley? I mean, that's the major draw. He's nuts.
It is, but he just thinks that the BRT is gonna be so, I think he thinks the BRT is gonna be so awesome and successful that no one will ride it. But the models that we're going by do show that there's a purpose for both of them. Anyway, that will be explored, I'm sure, at the Finance Committee, you'll hear that discussion. He's not, it's a different thing than the way it's Commissioner Eggers, spurred on discussion. Anyway, so I just wanted to bring that up. That'll be discussed at the committee. Whether or not we get an actual recommendation to purchase the trolleys or not, I think is an open question. I'm not sure if we will.
How many buses are allocated to that run right now?
8? I think, no. 7 today, and it's gonna go down to 5 once the BRT is up and running. But the BRT is not up and running yet, so.
Right.
So we are reducing the frequency by allocating fewer buses to it once the BRT is up and running.
Mhm.
The number of trolleys needed, that'll be operating on it will go down, but it won't go away.
Okay, well, but is this question the fact we're buying 20? Or the
Yeah,
fact that-
he thinks we can save half, we should only maybe buy 10, like 5, and that's over 2 years, so by 5,
A year?
yeah. Just buy 10 fewer.
Oh, are we gonna use them on any other routes?
Well, yes, we're gonna use them on the Central Avenue trolley and the Suncoast Beach trolley.
Okay, so that's why we need the larger
Yeah.
number of vehicles. Okay.
Yeah, well, we have 16 of them today.
Yeah.
And 16 is not enough to run those 2 routes today. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sorry I missed that meeting.
So that's gonna be a fun trolley discussion. The other discussion that we're gonna have at the board meeting is much more enlightened and great. Whitney, would you like to give a little, movie preview of coming attractions?
Yes, well, I don't have anything to show you today because I'm saving
That
it.
is so unkind.
We're saving it for the big unveiling at the board meeting.
Well, what if I don't like it?
I think you're gonna like it. If you don't like it, don't say it that.
Well, you know, I mean, I don't think that's very wise.
Well, we will be unveiling the name of the BRT and the logo.
Which is,
Soon. Unless you want me to tell them now. It won't be much of an unveiling if everybody.
we're not
already
gonna
knows.
tell anybody,
It's being
Whitney.
recorded.
City.
But so we will have the name and the logo prepared,
City.
and and then after that, we will be working on the look of what the buses are actually gonna look like and incorporating all of the brand style into the rest of the system. So the stations, all of the material we'll be creating to promote the project. But we're excited to not call it the Central Avenue BRT anymore.
So I just have a little tip for you
Yes.
and for you, Rena. Elected officials do not like surprises.
Okay.
When they get surprises, it can be very disturbing.
Sure.
So remember that you were forewarned.
Yeah, maybe you should use an analogy that only you can use.
Well, I was telling Brad about the one I used yesterday, that I feel like it's almost like the same pressure I feel of naming my unborn child, of how important this project is and what we're gonna call it, and.
That does not resonate with me at all.
Commissioner Long, are
It
you
is not-
are you gonna see Whitney's child and then say, I don't like it?
Hey, listen, my own very dear, sorry, mother looked at my youngest son and said, he's so ugly.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, mhm.
Well, maybe we
Oh,
can have
okay.
a one-on-one conversation. I can give you some more clues.
But tell a little bit about the, all the work that's gone into,
I
just a
don't
little
wanna
bit
hear
about
it, just sit down because you just ruined everything. What that's really mean? Why would you get her up to say this and then not tell us anything?
Well, because it has been a long, very detailed, inclusive process that she's gonna talk about at the meeting, but, it's really been a thoughtful thing. I don't think I don't think I think it'll be exciting, but not really surprising.
Right.
You know, and it has a lot of thought into it about how, you were talking about T-BARTA and the future growing into a regional system, that this Central Avenue project is a catalyst, is the first of what we hope will be many. So that needs to be taken into consideration as well, so, and it will happen.
Go forth and multiply, which we see you were already working on.
Thank you very much.
Are we
How
gonna,
come
excuse
you
me,
didn't say anything?
I'm more concerned with the funding of it. It's taken an awfully long time. I think we're spending a lot of time in
Oh,
preparation.
didn't you know? It's a big surprise.
Yeah, well, I think we gotta get some money before we worry about all this stuff. Can I just ask a question, George? We're gonna talk about number one.
The trolley?
Yeah.
What page are you looking at? Oh,
He's looking at the.
that's a sort of, just a recap on what we talked about.
Right.
All those different trolleys exist.
Okay, yeah. What I was gonna suggest is we need another column over here to find out whether the ridership's going up, down, or sideways. And, because I'd like to know in prior years, how we've been doing, because when we've got two people on the finance committee that are negative when purchasing anything, bar soap, it's a problem. So I think we need a column here to show that we're either holding our own or increasing or whatever. Okay?
Well, and as I told Commissioner Eggers, I mean, the trolley, he asked, I said, well, maybe PSTA just, maybe, he asked me my own personal opinion, or as what, did we want to not be in the trolley business, those were his words, and focus on other stuff. But the trolley system in Pinellas County is what I think is one of our biggest successes. I mean, the ridership, I think I'll have to check, but I'm pretty sure on all of them is up.
Yeah.
This ridership is growing. The tourists love the trolleys.
Right.
They don't complain. They're the best kinds of customers. I
They're
mean,
hanging out the windows on
Right, I
that one
understand.
that comes down South Fort Harrison and turns right to go out to the beach. I've stood there
Yeah.
at that intersection.
Exactly. Now, but my
Bus,
point,
it's loaded.
yeah, my point is that with regard to Commissioner Long's comments about an integrated system, I just want to take a look at the big picture with that. So if we could just add a column with, like some kind of average over the past few years or something like that, I think that would be helpful.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the region is growing. I think we're doing more and more together than ever.
Yeah.
And T-BARTA is going to hopefully have a regional system up and running. That does not necessarily mean that trolley buses are not certainly a very popular option with our tourists, especially in our tourist areas of Pinellas County. They may not be necessary all in Hillsborough County everywhere.
Yeah.
It's, different,
Mhm.
but certainly trolleys are a winner here. The other thing is, and Commissioner Eggers appreciated this after we talked to him, when we contract with a provider like Jolly Trolley or Looper or Care Ride, it's not like that doesn't take any work by PSTA staff that absolves all the work of the staff. I mean, they do hire the drivers, but and Henry's going to talk about this, the amount of maintenance assistance, as I think you mentioned, there's a lot of technology that we provide to our contractors, and we give it to them, and we help maintain it.
So Brad, excuse me for interrupting.
There's just a lot of overhead that we provide to these partners.
But in this little number C, where you talk about operational cost,
Yeah.
I think it might be significant if you were to carve out another line there that just speaks to the maintenance that we do don't we do all their maintenance for the trolley?
We assist heavily with the maintenance.
But that's not free.
No, it's not, no.
Do you know what the cost is of our piece of the maintenance?
Well, we're gonna try to quantify all of the work, there's a whole host of reporting, as you well know, that we have to report on tons of things about our service to the federal and state governments to get funding, to be in compliance with rules and regulations, and we do all that for them. We plan all the routes and schedules. Cassandra's group does all of the planning of the routes and meets with the city staff and talks to them about the bus stops and there's a lot of other things besides actually just, the day-to-day running is important, but there's just a lot of overhead that we're trying to quantify what our staff does to oversee this. And I think Commissioner Eggers understood that. It's not like we contract this out and give it to them and then we don't have to work, we probably
Right.
spend more time talking and overseeing these 6 routes than we do some of our other routes.
Does Henry literally dispatch a guy over there with his toolbox and everything, and he goes over and fixes things that they don't know how to fix? That's one thing.
Yeah, that's my concern.
And do they use our software for maintaining parts, inventory, and all that sort of thing?
They have one mechanic
Right.
that works on their vehicles.
Right.
So
How many do we have?
we have like 3 shifts that work 24/7, 60-some technicians. And so yes, a truck goes out there, in modern day, they bring a computer.
Right.
And then they hook it up to the vehicles,
Mhm.
not just the toolbox, but
Mhm.
you go out there now, you can see Jolly Trolley vehicles or Looper vehicles that they bring here to do more, intense maintenance.
Changing engines.
Certainly, any of the technology issues are dealt with by PSTA.
Mhm.
There's a lot of hands-on assistance that we provide on the maintenance side.
So I think Commissioner Long's question is, are we adequately quantifying that? So are these numbers accurate in terms of their cost compared to our costs when you
They don't have a
factor that-
cost in here for maintenance,
for
that's my
factoring
point.
that thing in?
No, I think as Commissioner Long said, it's not called this, but it really is a public-private partnership.
Well, maybe we should start calling it that,
Yeah.
because they're taking advantage of our ability to work with the feds, because they can't, right?
Right.
So it's a little more than a partnership.
Yeah. The other thing that is on the agenda, besides those 2 things, we've got, besides the BRT branding unveil, we have a great unveiling of the Leadership PSTA graduating class of 2019 and the unveiling of the 6 great new superstars of the future class of 2020. And then our legislative committee, which is meeting, I don't know when.
Pretty soon.
What happened to Darden?
I think it's like the first week in November.
I don't know if she's coming or not. We're going to take an action to approve the state and federal legislative agendas. We'll have a legislative committee before that, or
21st.
on the 21st, and then,
Of October?
yeah. And then bring our proposed agenda to the board. The legislative agenda as it currently stands for the state legislative agenda is almost entirely related to transportation, maintaining the transportation disadvantage funding we now receive, and hopefully securing some additional funding for electric buses. and electric bus infrastructure. Met with, I've met with Senator Roussan and Representative Webb, and Representative Allen, I think. So far, just to kind of vet these ideas, and they've all been very, very positive about them. We'll have the legislative committee discuss this, the state agenda, discuss our federal strategy for locking down the BRT funding, and then anything else we want to discuss on the, either our lobbyists recommend or we recommend to talk about it at the federal level, and then use those when we plan our trips to Tallahassee and DC.
So Brad, I see that on the calendar, we have a PSTA Legislative Committee meeting scheduled for the 9th, and then an executive committee right after that, which, not that the world revolves around me, but is problematic because I'm scheduled to be in the Netherlands.
In November?
Yeah, and
What was the date again?
November 6th.
Oh, I see that. Okay. That's not the nominating, is that the nominating committee day?
No, well, it doesn't say
No,
nominating on
that's
here.
another-
No,
I've got a bunch of holds.
I can't remember, I'm trying to, yeah, I know, I gotta go through those, because I just locked it down. The 10th, maybe?
You sent a memo on that, didn't you?
Yeah, I can't,
Hold on a
14th?
second, let me look.
I'm
I
looking
didn't
right
put it in
now.
my calendar.
14th,
Yes, the nominating committee is November 14th at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
I gotta get rid of the other ones here.
Well, we can talk about that at the legislative committee if we want to see if we can find an alternative date based on the schedule. On the 21st, we can.
Well, can't we just finalize everything when we meet on the 21st?
Yeah, that's all I was thinking. Yeah,
Why
that's
do we
what I was
need
thinking.
another meeting 2 weeks later?
But we probably wouldn't even need a meeting necessarily.
Well, that's my whole point.
That's awesome.
That would be great.
That would be so great.
Now, do
It's
you
so,
want to
especially
discuss
November,
us?
November, December is so hard.
Possibly also rescheduling the executive committee for that day.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like I'm meeting with you at 11:30 on that day. Is that our briefing?
On 11/6?
No, on October 21st.
Yes.
That's our
For it.
briefing?
Yeah.
And then we go right into
in.
the legislative committee? And then,
Yeah.
why don't we just do the executive committee right after it?
Well, that's only in 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, we have our rehearsal for the board meeting
Yeah.
after that.
When are you talking about doing nominating then?
The nominating committee is the 14th
Oh,
of
the
November.
14th, yeah,
11/14.
Maybe we could do the executive committee, right? I can't remember if there's overlap between the members of the nominating committee and the,
Yeah, I think there's 3,
oh, really?
I think.
Well, we could maybe do the executive committee right after or before the nominating committee on the 14th. Do we have a December executive committee?
No.
Okay. Yeah. The December board meeting is early in the month, so,
We don't have any committees in December.
yeah.
All right, can you just send out a memo to make sure I got all that stuff
Yeah.
correct? We're doing this on the fly.
Are we gonna go ahead and cancel legislative for November? Or do you wanna talk about it on the 21st?
I don't know why we have to have another one in November. If we don't have it tied down at our meeting in October, problematic
Okay,
for a
so-
variety of reasons.
We'll cancel November legislative, and I'll try to reschedule executive for either before or after the nominating committee.
Okay.
I gotta check with the other members, but I'll send you all an email once I get all that locked in.
One more thing, you sent out your questionnaire every time about who wants to be on what committee and all that. Are we gonna have full funding, not full funding, full staffing of our committees?
There's currently three vacancies on committees that we need to fill,
Got this in one question.
so
Do we have people expressing interest?
I've received one response,
Okay.
but I just sent it out like a couple days ago,
Okay.
so.
I'm just a little hesitant about not having another legislative committee just between now and December, just as a potential. Hopefully there will not be any need, but just if something comes up with the BRT funding for DC. But
Okay.
for now, I think we can not hold it, and then if something happens, we'll try to schedule one. But I don't think that'll be late. I think we can handle it on the 21st. November 7th is a important day, because we just got word yesterday that the state is starting to dole out their VW settlement funding for electric vehicles. And despite a flurry of confusion with an article appearing in a news publication that they had allocated all the money to electric school buses.
There are any.
There aren't any
Yeah.
yet. That proved not to be true, although they are allocating the first $15 million statewide on a first-come, first-served basis. I thought that was kind of interesting, to school districts to get electric school buses. So I guess all the school districts are calling, and it's whoever called first thing this morning gets the money, or something, I don't know. And then they are doing a request for interest that's due on November 7th for other kinds of vehicles. So we're submitting a request for VW settlement funding for electric buses by November 7th. I'm working with Ron and Natalie on that as well.
Where is our pilot project with the school board?
I have a meeting on tomorrow, Thursday. Friday. I don't know if you're, I don't know how it got scheduled.
The secretary or the assistant called me up and said, he wants to have a quick conversation with you. And I said, well, his calendar's pretty crazy, and I was able to squeeze in at least a quick call Friday, and then told her if you all needed to meet again, we could schedule something else.
The gentleman that Commissioner, you and I met with previously is calling me on Friday. I was gonna either thank you or I don't know if he's calling because he's nervous that we're trying to do something and he's trying to put the kibosh on it or what, but I hope not. I hope it's a positive.
So
Happy
did we
Friday.
submit a proposal to them?
Yeah, a pilot program
For 3 schools.
When did we submit it?
back in August. And Representative Webb and 2 school board members have it as well. 3 schools plus a UPass program for the students. So we'll just,
Who are the school
I'm
board
gonna be
members?
positive until I have the call.
Who are the school board members?
Nicole Carr
Yep.
and the woman that came to the.
Joanne Lentino?
Joanne Lentino, yeah.
Okay.
She Commissioner Schulman told me that he sits on the school transportation committee, the school transportation safety committee with Commissioner Eggers. And he brought it up the partnership, and there's 2 school board members on that committee as well. I don't know who they are, but, if that's never been the problem, the school board has not been the problem, or the top administration, it's been more the transportation folks,
Okay,
so,
all right.
yeah.
You can't vote on it.
Well, I sure would like to know where Darden disappeared.
She said she wouldn't be able to get here on time. I don't know that, I guess she's not coming. Okay.
All right, well, let the record reflect the important people were here.
Oh.
Yes.
Sorry, annoying. I do think it would be just, an act of courtesy and consideration for the rest of us, if they're not gonna come and we can't take any action, they ought to let us know.
She spent one-on-one with her. Yeah. Well, something to consider by the nominating committee, when,
Quick question on this. We adjourned, Chair.
Yes, we are adjourned.
Quick question on this. Is this new? We just do this?
Yeah, what's up
Visitor
with the
passes?
security visitor
You
thing?
gotta sign in and
Is
everything?
that for board members?
For board members too?
no,
You know,
Is
the
it?
young lady downstairs had me sign in and get it.
Maybe she just didn't realize you were a board member?
It's a new program through
I-
Safety and Security, just a number level of security
Okay.
for the front desk.
Okay.
So she probably didn't realize you weren't supposed to.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
Sign
think the
in,
board
no.
members need to do that,
okay,
Yeah. I'll speak with
because you have your badges.
yeah. Well, no, I didn't have my badge, and
Oh,
she gave me
oh.
one for Chair Long, and she signed Chair Long in.
Oh, I
Did
see.
you, I think you were on a phone.
Maybe just to keep track of who
I
has
always
visitor
just walk in
badges?
if I'm coming up here.
I know, I do. too.
we had an issue, over the summer with
You saw
a
James's.
former.
Yeah, but I
employee.
I don't remember seeing anything about board
It's
members.
just,
So
no,
she
it
needs
just
to be-
everyone.
Yeah, like that.
She
We
needs to be
wanna see
reminded.
I don't mind it, I just need to know what the rules are, because
So they
somebody's.
created a sign-in procedure.
Okay. All right,
So we'll find out.
okay, so you and I are gonna talk for a couple minutes?
Yeah, that's fine, that's great.
I'll just let her know it's not.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was talking to Alan about, T-Barta not being able to get a quorum. He was like, well, PSTA doesn't have that problem.